It's been a while. I'm back. Alright. Well, I'm back with another video. I've been away for so long because I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm not super keen on editing videos these days. So it's just like, I've got a mountain of videos I need to probably edit, but I've been sitting on that for a while. But anyways, I'm back today to talk about something else. Now, intentionally, or I guess originally, this was going to be a one long video, but I decided to cut it up into two parts so I could have time to get my thoughts together on the subject at hand. Alright. So today we're going to talk about sobriety and straight edge. All right. Now let's jump into sobriety because I don't want this video to be super long because I know I'm very long-winded and that's more for me to edit. So let's jump into it. So sobriety. I'm sober. I've been sober now. At the time of this video, I've been sober for about 3 years and some change. So I went sober towards the end of 2020. It was my second attempt and it stuck, and I've been sober ever since. Now, let's talk about maybe why I drank, and let's talk about why I needed to sober up. Alright, well, first things first, why I drank. I think I came of age at a time where drinking was something that was just kind of seen as something that you did. It was kind of seen like, natural state of things. You get into high school, maybe you start drinking on the weekends at some parties, you go to university, you start drinking, you turn 21, and then you start drinking legally. I grew up in America. And just didn't question it. It seemed like that's what you did, unless you were like very religious, or maybe you were, I don't know, perhaps allergic to it or something. But yeah, so there was no expectation that I wouldn't drink, or that I would, abuse alcohol. It just seemed like a natural rite of passage for adults. Growing up, my dad didn't necessarily drink in front of my brother and I, or in front of my sister and I either. And my mom couldn't drink because she's had high blood pressure my whole life and other things. So she's always been on medicine. So my parents didn't really drink. I think the most I ever seen my dad drink was sometimes, we go to Red Lobster, he'd get like a bottle of white Zinfandel. Or maybe he'd buy some brandy and he'd just nurse that bottle for like a month and some change. So yeah. But I'd never seen my dad drunk or anything like that. Never seen my mom drunk because I've never seen her really drink alcohol. Oh, sometimes my dad would get Qingdao or something at the Chinese restaurant. In fact, when I turned 21, him and I went to get Chinese food because he loved Chinese food, and I had my first Qingdao with him. Gave me a headache, but I had my first beer with him. But that was the extent of it. So it was never any belligerent drunkenness around my siblings and I. And then, I turned 21 and I was back in America at that point, and I just started drinking. But it wasn't out of hand because I had to drive a lot in America. I lived in Orlando, so you can't be drinking and driving. Although I think I probably maybe had more alcohol than I should have had at some points when I was driving. But I didn't want to purposely become super inebriated where I couldn't drive if I were driving. Now, if my friends were driving me, maybe it's a different story. And I got drunk when I was 21, but it wasn't a point where it was a problem. But then I guess fast forward a couple years later, I was living in Tokyo. I came back from Tokyo, all that back and forth. And I think there were two reasons as to why I think I started drinking a bit more. Maybe three reasons why. So the first reason is that, there's a sort of romanticism to it. And I think my issue was that, I was very heavily influenced by the media growing up. I watched so much TV. I was on the internet a lot, but, for us older millennials, our first sphere of influence was the television. And I think, TV, MTV, all that, you watch favorite musicians, and not all of them are pounding alcohol, but there's something romantic about the way alcohol is shown in Western media, whether it be movies, whether it be TV shows, whether it be, popular song lyrics. But for example, in movies, it could be something as innocuous as a bottle of red wine with dinner. And it looks fancy. It looks, so adult. Or you might have a male character in a movie who's very stoic, but he needs a bottle of Jack, or he needs a glass of whiskey to help him solve the crime or something of that nature. So it wasn't straight up just binge drinking all the time, but just alcohol pop up and you would think, oh yeah, cool, it just fits my persona. So yeah, that was reason number one. There's a romanticism to it. And then that led to, I think, reason number two, which lack of social inhibitions. I was quite introverted, but I was pushing myself to be more extroverted, more outgoing, and alcohol helped with that. Alcohol helps you be more talkative. Some people say it helps you with learning a second language. I'm not sure if it helps or not with that, but I know it lowers your inhibition, so you're not afraid to talk. So yeah, so alcohol was a great social lubricant, as it were. So yeah, it was romantic, social lubricant, which actually led to, romantic encounters, if you will, because both parties are drunk. And the third thing was, After my dad died, I started drinking alcohol a bit heavier, and it became problematic then because I just didn't want to think about things. I remember looking at alcohol as a way to kind of fast forward through bits of like missing my dad or bits of depression or self-loathing, which ironically was caused by drinking. The more you drink, the worse you feel about yourself, and then the worse you feel about yourself, the more you drink to not feel bad about yourself. It's like this vicious circle. It's like wearing makeup. The more makeup you wear, the worse your skin gets, and then the more makeup you need to cover it. So it's like that, but with alcohol. So that's when I started drinking for more like I guess not so fun reasons. I started having a lot worse depression, and I just kind of wanted to just fast forward through the night. And my way of fast forwarding through the night was drink so much that I just pass out. Maybe not black out, but just enough to just pass out and go to sleep and then wake up and have it be the next day. So I started using alcohol as a tool of escapism. And that went on for a while. I was back in Tokyo. It was years I was back in Tokyo. I'd be DJing, I'd be going out, and I'd be getting plastered. And then it got to a point where I was actually drinking every day. And we'll talk about that real quick. So I wasn't getting trashed every day, but I was drinking alcoholic beverages every day. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can buy alcohol in Japan 24/7. Back when I was living in America, you kind of had to run to the store or run somewhere before 2 a.m. to buy your booze, because you couldn't buy it. You physically couldn't buy it. Electronically, there'd be a lock on some of the displays or at the register. You couldn't buy it between the hours of 2 a.m. and I think 9 a.m. I'm not sure what it's in different counties, in different states, but I know I was living in Orange County in Orlando. Yeah, you couldn't do that. But Tokyo, Japan, well, in Japan, no such thing. If I wanted right now, I could walk down the street to a 7-Eleven or a Lawson's and buy a bottle of vodka if I really wanted to. Or, I don't know if they sell vodka there. Probably some little ones. Or I could buy some Nihonshu. I could buy alcohol. But point being, if I wanted to get plastered, I could do it very easily. I could be drunk within the hour if I wanted to right now. So that ease of access really helped me to use alcohol as a crutch for, I guess, romanticizing my own life, a social lubricant, but also to just fast forward through my uncomfy feelings. But there was a point where I was drinking every day. And to reiterate, I wasn't getting trashed every day, but wake up in the morning, maybe I'd have, a beer with breakfast. And then maybe I'd have a beer with lunch or something, secretly, so no one knew about that. And then maybe night time comes around and I might have a beer or two or maybe 3, probably a beer or 2 at dinner. And then on the weekends, I'd get shit-faced. But sooner or later, my drink of choice was beer. I really liked beer. I loved the taste of it. I liked wine, I guess. I drank wine with my wife, or who was my girlfriend at the time. But I was never a violent drunk. I was just kind of I guess, a loose drunk. I was quite annoying, but I was also quite lovey-dovey and just I was just drunk. I don't think about too much, but yeah. I would spend maybe Thursday through Sunday night being faced, and then Monday through Thursday, just I was still ingesting alcohol. It got so bad to the point that one time my now wife, my at the time girlfriend, suggested that maybe we live separately because on the weekends she didn't like being around me because I was just drunk. And once again, when I was drunk, I wasn't violent, but I'd be obnoxious. For example, I'd be listening to Limp Bizkit's greatest hits on YouTube, rapping along at 2 o'clock in the morning, and while my wife is sleeping next to me because we lived in this shoebox apartment in Nakameguro. So that kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember thinking, it had been years since I had gone a day without a drink. And I had never pushed myself to go a day without a drink. And I always thought that, I could stop drinking whenever I wanted to. But fortunately, or I guess unfortunately, I never was forced by outside pressure to stop drinking. I never had to go through that withdrawal. But it was getting out of hand. And I remember thinking that I wanted to be drunk when I died. Because, I wanted to go out that way. But there was a time where I started to develop cluster headaches. Now, those of you who don't know, cluster headaches are also called side headaches because they hurt so bad you consider taking your own life. And I think they're more common among men. That's what the pamphlet that I have in Japanese says. And yeah, I started getting cluster headaches, and those were terrible. That knocked me on my ass. I had to go to the clinic, and I remember at the clinic, the doctor, she was telling me that you got to take this medicine, you got to do these injections, but you can't drink for 28 days or for the month while you're taking this medicine. And I remember looking at her, and I was like, okay. But in my mind, I scoffed at her. I was like, do you know who I am? I'm Naito Kenza. I run on alcohol. And I think later on that night, I was working my old job. My coworker and I, we had some celebratory drinks after work. And I think her and I bought 2 cans of beer or something. and I had half a can of beer, and I just, I didn't finish it because I was, I remember started being scared because I remember how bad the headaches hurt. And lo and behold, I wake up the next day and my head is split in half. It feels like I was going to die. So that scared me straight, and I stopped drinking for I think a good like 10 months after that because I was so afraid of the headaches coming back. That was my first attempt at sobriety. And I'll say this. You have to want to stop drinking for sobriety to stick. You can't be scared of not drinking from your health. At least for me, it didn't work because I still had that innate desire to drink. I just thought, oh, I can't drink for the time being. I quite liked being sober, but I think for me, I had been drinking alcohol for so long that 10 months was still like, I hadn't started reaping the full benefits of it, I guess, mentally for me just yet. I think my body, my skin was clearing up, all that. But mentally, my brain was still like, it was still going back to chemical-based neutral, I guess. So, however, I don't know the science behind it, but that's what it felt like for me. And I remember I got married and I felt kind of bad that my wife couldn't drink champagne or wine with me because my wife, she can drink alcohol. She doesn't drink alcohol that much anymore, but, she can. She doesn't go overboard. She can hold her liquor, all that stuff. She can drink it. But, me, I had an issue. I had the overindulging issue. And, I broke my sobriety, I think, towards the end of 2019 or early 2020. And then, the pandemic hit and I was just, free to drink a lot at home. And I think with cluster headaches, I think they come in waves or whatever. So the alcohol didn't trigger any cluster headaches yet. But I was very quickly backsliding into my old ways. I was becoming obnoxious. I was becoming annoying. My wife was saying, like, hey, mate, like, you're starting to be annoying again, like how I used to be. Remember when you stopped drinking, how great that was? And, one of the things that I noticed at that time, too, was, like, there were two times. So I was working in, like, I was in English teaching in 2020, and I was working part-time for both jobs. So, like, money was quite scant. We couldn't really meet up to teach because you have to teach in person. Money was quite bad. I remember there's a point where my wife and I got to the Don Quixote, and we were in Don Quixote or something. I was a supermarket, I can't remember where we were. And I was going to buy alcohol. I wanted to buy alcohol. It was on my list of things to buy. I had just enough money to buy alcohol. I think I got paid like a day or two later. Just enough to buy some things, some alcohol. My wife happened to mention, like, oh, hey, like, we need, like, I can't remember what it was, but it was something we need for the house. Like, it must have been, like, maybe, like, 300 yen or something. Nothing more than that. And I was like, that's going to have to wait. Now, granted, it could have waited. But, like, at the same time, though, like, the fact that I was like, no, it's got to wait. I'm not buying it now. We'll buy it, a Saturday or the day after tomorrow or something. Like, I flat out refused because that money was going to alcohol. Lo and behold, they didn't have, I think I was drinking soju or something. I don't know. They didn't have my drink of choice or my flavor of choice at the Don Quixote. I think it was sold out. So we walked back to our apartment, and then I kept going to another convenience that I knew had the alcohol. And my wife and I had a bit of a talk about that. But more than, my wife and I's talk, it was later on I realized, like, look, bro, like, I'm getting to the point where, like, I'm prioritizing spending, like, my last couple of, like, yennies on alcohol. Like, that's kind of sad. And then the hangovers were getting unbearable. Like, I think I was past 33 at the time. I was like 33 in 2022, I think, going on 34. And the hangover was like, I'd be on my ass for like a day afterwards, like a day, maybe sometimes 2 days. And also, the alcohol itself started to taste funky. Like, I love beers. I still love beers. I drink non-alcoholic beers, but I like the taste of beer. Or I like the carbonation of it. I like all the frothiness. But just the alcohol, I think people who know, if you drink so heavily, if you drink a lot of beer, sometimes it just doesn't sit with you. Like, my stomach was getting queasy. I'm quite sensitive in the stomach area anyways. But yeah, it would be queasy, and I would just drink through it. I'd be like, I'm just going to drink through this. So, long story short, I think towards the end of 2020, I'm going to say about November, so I just turned 34. We just had a 1-year anniversary, and I think if you look at the pictures, I'm drunk in the anniversary pictures. And I think my wife, she's also drinking wine too, but I think she's a bit annoyed with me or something of that nature. But I got shreked, I guess, or facing wrecked, whatever. I got wasted. I think it was like the end of October, the very beginning of November. I think my sober anniversary was like November 3rd or something. I think I got faced on the 2nd, and I don't remember if it was the first second, but I was on my ass for like 2 or 3 days. I remember being in bed for the second day, and I couldn't find any rest, tossing and turning. I don't like throwing up. My head was pounding. I just felt like garbage. I remember thought, why am I doing this? like, it's costing me money. It's costing me self-respect. My wife doesn't like me when I'm drunk. It's gonna bring my headaches back, and I just feel terrible. You know, that's it. I'm done. I'm done drinking. Like, f it. Like, this is not my friend. This isn't helping me. And that was when I was ready. I was done. I was ready to go. I was done. I was tired of being depressed. I was tired of waking up from, drinking, episode and having to check my social media to see what kind of crazy I posted and delete that. I was tired of being embarrassed of the person who I was. For the longest time, I didn't like myself because I was always kind of inebriated. And even if you're not drinking to get drunk every day, if you drink alcohol so often, if you're drunk so often, you're constantly having brain fog. Like, I just felt like I was a dumbass for like the majority of my 20s and the very early part of my 30s. I was like, why am I so stupid? Like, my self-image was in the trash, and I just hated myself. And that was one of the reasons why I drank so much too. And like, fortunately, I'm a creative, like I'm a musician, and that sucks. Like, it sucks to be a creative, like, especially if you're a musician who's not like, a major musician. It sucks to be in that constant state of mind because although you're making music and you're having fun, you're enjoying it, you still feel like a failure because you're conditioned to monetize off of your art and creativity. So, being in my early 30s, having a self-image, not being a successful musician, whatever that means, and just living in a tiny shoebox in Nakameguro. Yeah, I was abusing alcohol because I wanted to escape from a lot of things, but also it was making things so much worse. And that's when I decided to just kick the habit. And things have been amazing. This video is already longer than I wanted to be, so I'm gonna wrap it up soon. But I will say, maybe I'll touch on this in another video. But there are benefits that I've experienced from sobriety, and they didn't come immediately, I'll say that. They took about like a year and some change for me to really start feeling these benefits and for me to start reaping the rewards of quitting alcohol. And I'll save that for the next video because this is already too long. But thank you for watching this video. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. I forgot how to wrap up these videos. But like and subscribe, leave a comment. Have you have any experience over drinking or drinking too much or binge drinking? Have you gone sober? How's sobriety been for you? Please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video because I've got more to say. All right.